Moving into the stored woodworking equipment. Stuff that's just on wheels so that I can move it. This used to be my uncle's jointer, and there's a 12-inch plane. This is a Craigslist find, very cheap, didn't spend very much money on it. Same with Harbor Freight bandsaw, 14-inch saw. I need to redo the guides on it, but it actually saws very well. Comparatively, I guess. It is a Harbor Freight bandsaw, and I am used to my commercial. This is a Craftsman table that just today I shoehorned a, I don't know if we can see it. There we go. I put a Porter cable router in it. Yeah, because I didn't like the way the Craftsman, well, here's the Craftsman down here, Plunge Router, their professional one, but the guy I got it from lost the adapter, so it only does 1/4 inches, and it didn't fit properly on the table anyway. Rockwell speed control, there's some switches, there's a Makita router, there's a cleanup router, a little trim router in there. Latest acquisition is this Jet Spindle Sander. That turns out that's just a really nice tool. I can use that in my metalworking, and I'll use it in the woodworking. It's excellent for making templates and like that. This toolbox is my generic Craftsman, but in there is strictly shop, working tools, files, and all that kind of stuff. Nothing precision in that toolbox. It's all precision tools, and these are just general shop working tools. Back over here, these are hydraulic and electric tools inside that cabinet. Swing back over this way, there's a Rockwell Radial Arm Saw I picked up. I think I paid $75 for it because I didn't like the reach that a sliding miter saw has. This has a lot more reach, and I didn't need anything more than that. So we come back over here. There is the plane, the jointer. It's all set up, and back over here is the back of that TV. And then I've just got some miscellaneous stuff in here. There's a gripper that works really well. Speed square, some miscellaneous stuff, tight bond, some spray. This little glide coat, this stuff works really nice. It's a hard wax finish that goes on your tables. It seals them from moisture, and it helps things to slide really well. So that's something to think about. Some miscellaneous clamps. No, they're not expensive. Yes, they're Harbor Freight, but there's a lot of them, so at least it's enough to get me started. Now we move over to the table saw. This Powermatic has been around forever. I wound up paying $200 for it with the outfeed table. It has a brand new ball door motor, so I felt I wouldn't be injured too bad with that. I did have to come up and put a scale system on it. The existing scale was gone, so I had to put that in, and then I relocated the indicator from this side over here back over to this side, replaced the plexiglass cover, indicator, scribed a new line, and made that. One of the first things I made for myself was this sled, and then to fit on the sled I was talking about my Screw Advance finger joint jig. This has got a lot more time invested in it than it really should. Some old scraps of turnings, put the handle together. It's a 3/8 16 screw rod, runs all the way through, all the way to the other side. There's bronze bushings on both ends so that I can account for the wear. It has a C machined into the side of square tubing, rectangular tubing, and that holds it to the back side of my slide, or my sled. The mechanism slides on a Teflon guide. It's held in place. This is the back strip of an angle. There's the screw. That's Teflon guide. And then the screw is threaded through both of the mounting legs that hold the front plate in. These two knobs here back out of the way, and I can drop a 12-inch dial indicator or a 12-inch digital readout caliper. Fits right in here, so that as you advance the jig and those arms separate, it moves the caliper, and you can get a 1,000th readout on the positioning of your tool. Now, if you look back inside here, behind the front plate that your wood screws to, there's a screw right down there, and there's a similar one on this side back in there. Those are to adjust the front of the jig to square so that it's always perpendicular. You can see that I have a line scribed right here. That's where I'm going to mount a 2-inch or 1.5 inch high angle, so that we can always butt the board up square against that. Everything will always then be indexed. Then you can just slide a shim between the second board and the angle to index your top board, and then I'm going to have a clamp bar that screws in here and runs across to the other side, and then that would then clamp forward. The work itself, I'll get you back oriented in here. My sled, this is the non-moving side. This is the permanent side of my table saw blade is on this cut. Now, it has had a dado cut through, and this side is no longer indexed, but this side is. So in order to line this up, all I do is I adjust the jig in until that line lines up with the sled, at which point I don't have very much play left in here, and I will then be able to get a 7-inch board all the way across the front. It'll hold a lot wider than that, but with the screw travel and everything else, you get 7 inches. I have a folding or a wheeled shop table that just happens to be the perfect height to be an outfeed table, so that does double duty as an outfeed table and the for doing general shop work. I think everybody can recognize one of these guys. That's just a Harbor Freight dust collector that runs down to the hose to the back of the table saw. There's the table saw that I spent so much time trying to get cleaned up and ready to go. It belonged to my uncle, and didn't have a table or a rips fence, so one thing led to another. I wound up buying another saw. Then on this side of that is a shaper. Let's see if I can get this camera down underneath. It's kind of underpowered for today's work. It is a nice tool. It is a cast iron tool, and it's all there. I do have some shaper bits, but it's only a half horsepower, and it's a 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch spindle, so it's really limited. I'm going to be working probably with a router table. So come over here. This is my first $50 lathe. This is a Magna, which is the predecessor company to Shopsmith. It's okay for what it is. Like I said, I only paid $50 for it. Bearings are tight. It did have all the accessories. It doesn't have a chuck or anything, but it works. Turn it on and away it'll go. This is my little cut-off stuff. There's a lot of maple in there, some purple heart, some zebra wood, cocobolo, there's bacote, there's yeah, just a smattering of woods in there, mainly for pins and turning and stuff like that, but for accent pieces as well. And then there's the obligatory bucket of cutoffs and whatever stuff that's too good to throw away, but you don't have anywhere else to put it. These are my box of pin blanks. There's some really nice Carolina cherry burl in there, some miscellaneous other stuff, and so we got that. Swing around this way. Harbor Freight strikes again. Here we go, central machinery, but this is a variable speed. And it works, and I only paid $125 for it out of a pawn shop. Now this bench is the bench my uncle made for his lathe. Those are his tools that are on the back rail there. It's a nice bench, very solid. I had to put the 2x6s in underneath to raise the bed of the Harbor Freight lathe, but it's almost a perfect fit on that bench. This is the power cord for the red one is for the dust collector, and the black power cord is for the table saw. The table saw is 3-phase, and I do not have any power outlets on that side of the shop, so I have to come around and take it out. These are my woodworking tools in here, miscellaneous stuff, some lathe parts. The chuck I have is worth a lot more than the, there's some more tools, turning tools. The chuck, like I said, okay, there's dados. These were, that's 2 sets actually that my uncle had, and I had them reground and modified so that they leave a perfectly square cut for dado, for an exposed dado where you will see the end of it, and then some more miscellaneous wrenches and what have you. I have the Supernova Nova 2 chuck on here. These are 75mm bowl jaws that bolt through the chuck. I also have spindle jaws, and you saw some other stuff. I think I have 5 sets of jaws for that total. So that's what's in that toolbox. This toolbox is just general mechanics tools and what have you. And now we're out of the woodworking section, except for this bench. That's underneath is a 4-foot by 5-foot steel table, just like this. And that's some 3/4 MDF placed on the top. Clamp rack here for the metal clamps and whatnot. Sitting here, this is what started the whole thing, got me into woodworking. I need to make a base. This is a Vitamix blender. It's a commercial blender. It's designed to be mounted into a cabinet. So I needed to make a base for that because I don't have a base for it. So that led to all of this. And I still don't have a box. I still have not made that box.